Imagine a war, not against nations, not against ideologies, but against birds. Not just any birds, towering, flightless, fast-moving emus. This is not fiction. This is history, and it happened in Australia. Welcome to the Great Emu War. You're watching SPARKO, where true stories become cinematic legend. The year was 1932. The world was still reeling from the aftermath of World War I. Australia, like many countries, was facing an economic crisis. Soldiers had returned from the Great War, battle-hardened and jobless. The government, eager to provide them with something, anything, gave them land in Western Australia to farm. But what sounded like a hopeful plan turned into a cruel joke. The land was dry, infertile, and plagued with pests. Most of all, it was plagued by emus. Emus, giant, flightless birds native to Australia, aren't usually thought of as enemies of the state. But during this time, they migrated by the thousands into farmland, searching for food and water. And when they arrived, they destroyed everything in sight. It wasn't just a few birds pecking around. These were 20,000 emus, stampeding through crops, knocking down fences, and ruining the already meager harvests of struggling farmers. They were fast, they were strong, and they were smart. The farmers complained loudly. The government had to act. And so, in what may be the most bizarre decision in military history, the Australian government authorized a mission to go to war. Major GPW Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery was sent to lead the mission. His arsenal, 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The battlefield, the wide, empty farmlands of Western Australia. The enemy, flightless birds with a top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, capable of taking a bullet and still running. In November 1932, the operation began. Soldiers lined up, guns were loaded, emus were spotted, and the first attack was a disaster. The emus didn't play by the rules. They didn't gather in tight groups like soldiers. Instead, they split into small mobs and scattered in every direction. Machine guns jammed. Soldiers gave chase. Bullets flew and emus kept running. One group of 50 emus was fired upon at point-blank range. Not a single bird died. These birds were bulletproof, or so it seemed. Within the first week, the soldiers had fired hundreds of rounds and killed less than a dozen birds. The emus were winning. As word spread, the media caught wind of the war. Headlines mocked the military. Emus outwit military. Birds laugh in the face of government firepower. Even the public began to wonder, why are we spending military resources on birds? Major Meredith tried different tactics. He mounted guns on trucks, but the terrain was too rough. The emus outran the vehicles. In one case, a gun jammed so badly, it was completely unusable for the rest of the day. The war effort was collapsing. After just a few weeks, the operation was called off. The official kill count? Around 986 confirmed emu deaths, with about 2,500 injured. But 10,000 bullets had been used. That's roughly 10 bullets per dead bird. The rest? They escaped, majestically, mockingly. Major Meredith reportedly said, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world." The emus had won. But it didn't end there. A second attempt at the Emu War was launched shortly after. This time, the military claimed more success. Over 100 birds were killed per week. But again, the costs were high, the results questionable. Eventually, the government changed tactics. Instead of war, they offered bounties to farmers for every emu killed. It worked far better. Turns out, hiring local shooters was more effective than a national military operation. The Great Emu War wasn't just about birds. It reflected something deeper, an Australia struggling to define itself in the 20th century. a government desperate to support its veterans, a rural community abandoned, and a military that underestimated its enemy. The war became a symbol of bureaucratic absurdity, of what happens when politics meets the wild, and how even a trained army can be humbled by nature. It became a meme long before memes existed. Today, the Emu War is often seen as a joke, a quirky footnote in history. But to the farmers who lost their crops, it was deadly serious. To the soldiers sent to fight birds, it was a lesson in humility. And to historians, it's a perfect storm of poor planning and unintentional comedy. The emu, once hunted, is now a protected species. Ironically, it's even featured on Australia's national crest. A bird that once defeated the military now stands as a symbol of the nation. You can't make this up. There are plays, songs, and even indie video games based on the Great Emu War. Historians still study it, not because it changed borders or claimed empires, but because it revealed so much about human arrogance and underestimation. It's taught in some schools, referenced in military strategy classes, and laughed about on social media. But at its heart, it's a reminder. Sometimes the simplest enemies can be the hardest to defeat, especially when they don't care about your weapons or your pride. So let's recap. Australia, one of the most advanced nations of its time, declared war and lost to birds feathered, flightless, fast. The Great Emu War stands as proof that sometimes, no matter how big your guns or how bold your plans, nature laughs last. History isn't boring, you're just hearing the wrong parts. This is SPARKO, where even the birds have battle plans.